if you're going to be applying for any external um, funding sources, right? That has to, that's your story, that's your organization, that's your process and workflow, that's sources and uses of funds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as well as allies and collaborators and so forth, right? And metrics for how you measure success, right? Thinking about, well, how do you do that? How do you gather the information? How do you have it ready? Um, what do you have, kind of what things do you have to have ready when you're submitting an application and so on? I think those things are for people who are in that position. Those are the things that they're going to need to be able to take advantage of these big picture opportunities. Now, some of the people who are coming to these things are folks off the street who don't have an organization and are really trying to figure out, um, you know, what resources are out there to help me in my situation. I'm trying to career switch, or I'm trying to manage, being a home-based caretaker for loved ones of some kind, or, my educational situation, got derailed in this way. Like those people are not going to be as interested in this part of the conversation. Um, but I think we need to, for the people who have organizations and who have desires to make impact at the organizational level, we got to talk about what's the scale of the opportunity, but then we also have to talk about, okay, so over the next few weeks or few months, this is how you get yourself ready to submit, right? I think that's important.
One of the things
Jay, if I may add, so for this stage right now, it's just being able to submit your idea. If you can collab with other people, it's just submit, right? But if it actually gets selected to run with it, right? That's when we need to be able to get ready to provide all the metrics and all the information that they're going to be looking into. Is that correct?
Remember, this is only one source of funding. If this is what you do, if I'm in, you know, the angel organization for a better life, right? Some made up organization. And this is what we do. We have a team of 8 people and we go out and we provide some kind of community impact in the way that we do it. This is a source of potential support that is significant and substantial, but it's not the only one. There are private foundations. There are other, bites at the apple over time. And so there's some basic blocking and tackling. I think that as an organization, if you're running an organization that is doing social impact work, you need to know like there are certain things that you need to have in place, that you need to measure, that you need to keep track of, that you need to be prepared to present when people ask. Because when these opportunities pop up, sometimes you'll have 9 months to prepare a submission. Sometimes you'll have 9 hours,
Right.
right? So
Mhm.
let's make sure that we are also kind of reminding folks that if you have an organization, there are certain expectations that go beyond simple service delivery that put you in a position to potentially get external support.
great.
Right. And thank you for that. I think that was important said, right? And I think what I know for us that we run specific type of programs, we have our metrics, we have our we have a lot of that data, right? But if we're pivoting to something that we want to introduce to the program, I think that's more where I was referring to. There's no really metrics for that, but we know the direction that we want to go to, right? So I guess is that's when we would have to partner up with organizations that have been there and that have these metrics so we can combine all this information to be able to submit as a team.
And and Oscar, one of the things I'd recommend is the more you can partner with some of those organizations, especially some of those large foundations. Like if you had a group of, let's say, 4 or 5 small community organizations, say, hey, we want to do something on manufacturing green technologies in minority communities. Work with whoever it might be. Work with United Way and say, hey, we want to put this together, but we don't have the bandwidth for that. Can you help us be the lead? We'll work with you to put together this application. They have in-house grant writers who can do this work or used to do it on a daily basis, who can say, hey, let me look at the proposal, what we need to do, and help you tie in. So then they're leveraging their community. So they're the one receiving the grant. But again, you're building in those contracts that this organization is going to be contracted to do this work. This organization is contracted to do this work. Um, and you can leverage their internal force. They're getting, hey, a bunch of resources that are coming through. They're getting to work in this space that maybe they hadn't worked in the past on. And I think you may have, but again, depends on those organizations that you have relationships with, that have the expertise in that. And I think some of them would be saying, hey, if you're providing them the opportunity to connect with these 5 smaller nonprofits who they haven't worked with in the past, who are doing important work in their communities, to try to go after funding for this, I think most of them were like, yeah, we'd love to do that. We'd love to work together.
Right. And guys, you know, I know we're kind of churning through time here. One of the things I wanted to make sure is we introduced Luis and figure out how much time and what kind of presentation can we provide for him for tomorrow. So any recommendations? And Luis, in a perfect world, how much time do you think you'd like to take tomorrow? Because I want to make sure. I mean, this
no
is
more
this
than
is
30 minutes.
How much?
No more than 30 minutes. I would say maybe I can do my presentation in like 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and then just open up for some Q&A, and that's it.
Right.
Because it's going to be,
right.
There's money that's going to be down.
Your stuff is so explosive, and it's probably so far over the head of some of the people who've been there that Armand's stuff is just going to be really rendered useless, almost, to giving people action steps. Now, it's good, you know, to come after Armand, but, and I might be wrong, but after looking at these set of slides that Armand's going to present, you come on with, well, here are the things that you can do to take this data and put them to use maybe in your proposal, or to be thinking about ideas that can come to, you know, some proposal. That is what I see as the flow of things that people are going to be thinking about is, okay, now what? And so, Jay, is there any way to take Luis's information and flow it to a panel? So they're not just talking about, you know, things they've been talking about. They can now respond to these action items. So they can actually even look at something and say, hey, guys, you know, we have 4 panels. What do you think about this? What would you, you know, be able to ask them questions so that there's some real interactive discussion about, well, what did we just see? Is this interesting, or is it not? Or we just want to continue to have conversations about geography and race?
So short answer is we'll integrate it. It's not a problem. I mean, obviously we can talk about, you know, kind of how those organizations use resources and how they see LAEDC as well as these potential funding sources impacting what they do. But I do think that the panel conversation is of a different focus, which is, you know, actually watching real interventions and how they play out in the community, right? So it's okay if we have a 3-headed monster. It's okay if we have Armand talking about general data around the county, then have Luis talking about some of these opportunities that are coming down the pike and how they're structured. Where's this money coming from and why? But then also, you know, how organizations can get plugged in. And then to have a separate conversation with some organizations that are in the community impact space right now and talking more about what they do and why they do it and what's the value add and stuff like that. It's, you know, like all those things are related and it's fine.
Okay. And so, Drew, any reaction?
Yeah, I tell you, this is kind of what I've been waiting for, is that task list, you know, and so I think this really ties everything together well, and I'm, you know, glad actually maybe it worked out for the best that if we have our you know, our second take at the forum on Wednesday night and can get this information out to our attendees.
Right. And so Luis is going to do this tomorrow also, Drew. So I'd like to have you be involved. Now, Luis, is it possible for you to come in virtually on Wednesday? Because we're going to have our biggest physical group of people on Wednesday.
Yeah, I should be able to come in. I can even try to come in person, but I just maybe,
yeah, because tomorrow I expect maybe 60, 70 people. It might be our largest physical event, but Wednesday is going to be our biggest group of folks who are going to be more activist oriented. Sharon Evans has got some people, you know, that are coming, and there may be a state senator and an assemblyman there. So I know that, you know, some of those people probably know the nuts and bolts of this thing, or maybe they don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to come in for sure, for Zoom for sure, but I'll definitely try to come in person. I think it's, I should be available at that time. Sometimes it may be just getting through to the area. One time I had to drive from Glendora to SoFi, and it took me almost 3 hours. So I want to be a little winding.
Okay.
I tried to take a shortcut and it was way so much worse.
Yeah. So, guys, yeah. So there's a run of show that I've put again, Luis. after Armand. And then there was a gentleman from Community Labs that I wanted to precede Armand, who can help contextualize why data and these data points are important for people to know as they start to maybe think about or ideate around the possibility of being part of this process of grant submissions or collaborating with people or even having discussions after these convenings are over. So, Mark, can you tell us a little bit about how you see Damon and your organization coming in to help us braid some of this stuff together?
Yeah, I think, well, what we can do is we can actually kind of pull a lot of this together. And what our goals are and the way we came up with the company was really to take all these disenfranchised silos of data and pull them together so we can give you better analytics and real time and business information. So I think with what you're trying to do is, and we had this conversation with Jay on Saturday, I believe it was, is we can take the data from a lot of the nonprofits that already exist, plus the police, plus all kinds of other avenues that are available within the city and the community, and then we can actually bring that all into the community so that we can get better analytics on each individual and what their opportunities actually are. And once we get that information, then we can also push them towards a nonprofit so that now that nonprofit, if they need some mental health help at work, or if they need like an SR22 to get their driver's license back on track, that agency can help them with that. And now they've got at least a better opportunity to be able to get where they need to go. But we could be able to easily link right into them to help them do that. So that way we're leaning on the community and all of the resources that already exist within the state instead of having to start up a whole new program.
Okay. So guys, now I see the reason why we have to start on time. We probably have to shrink the dinner portion to maybe a half an hour because we have a lot of stuff to compress into this time so we can get out of there by 9 o'clock. So I'm thinking with Damon coming on to contextualize things, setting up Armin's presentation. Luis, I think if we can do the 15-minute version to get to Jay bringing on the panelists, have a discussion, getting to a shorter dinner, and then to have how does race and ethnicity break down some of the complexities or some of the needs for people to make them more either competitive or to give them more of an on-ramp to these opportunities. Those are the things I think about. Now, that's kind of the flow of thinking I have, not just to talk about race and ethnicity as a thing, but how do we help to create the solutions and bridge the gaps and the barriers for them to participate if they have unique issues to need help for making sure that they don't get, as Jay said, run over, run by, and run through. And one of the things, I think, Kevin, we'll have a translator there tomorrow and Wednesday to make sure that that's another advent, so that if people bring up language or cultural barriers, we can make sure that we start to knock those things down. So I know we're running short on time. Anybody have any questions, suggestions, or comments that I can add to the run of show?
Real quick, Kevin, we've been working on a white paper called Ethical Data, Equitable Outcomes, a Guide to Community-Centered Analytics. I'm going to try to have that done so that maybe we could use that as a handout, or we can pass it around digitally, however you like to do that. But I'll work on that, try to get that done as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish up my deck, and then I'll send it off to Armand on the CJF team. I'll CC you on it. That way I want them to double check, make sure the information I'm on there is accurate. I'm not misinterpreting something. I think some of the numbers I had in there were like some of the old numbers for the implementation. So I updated them with a new 150 million, but to the extent I got something wrong, I want to have them give it a final once over.
Okay, great. And this is for the people who are on the steering committee. Is there still an opportunity for people to be onboarded for HRTC, the HRTC?
Yeah. Anybody can keep going. I'm telling people always like just sign up. If for no other reason, sign up for the newsletter. Because again, when those announcements come in, for some of those grants are available, that's how it's going to get announced.
So that means that everybody on this call that's not part of HRTC could sign up.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we make, how do we offer that? I mean, Shioma is going to be there.
It's literally like a standard template letter they just fill out on behalf of the organization, sign in, and that's it. You're part of it.
And I'm going to say, if we can do that, it gives more connectivity to people who've come who are not part of the HRTC and gives them some inclusion for which either people online or physically could say, well, how can we do that? So I'm going to ask if Chioma can set up and say, hey, email me, and we can put her email address up there so people can try to get a one-on-one, because that's what I thought was the process for people getting onboarded, right?
Yeah.
And if that's still available, I'm kind of wondering why that hasn't been suggested as something that we could put as an action item. And I don't know if anybody wants any more people in the HRTC, but I don't know. Is there any thought as to why we shouldn't have any more people, or is maybe we're too full, or I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
No, you can. It's still open. They can on board as an individual or as an organization. There's no limit.
Okay. Well, that's what I think everybody should, who wants to be involved can be involved instead of just showing up. So, all right, guys.
At minimum, they should sign up for the mailing list, because again, that's where the announcement's going to come in. This Catalyst grant funding is available. Applications are out. That's where they're going to get notified.
Right, and this goes on for another 2 years, right?
I'm sorry?
This goes on to 2026, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure, however, but it keeps you. Worst case scenario, if you don't like it, just unsubscribe. But the grant stuff, the money stuff's happening this year, so I would recommend get on the mailing list. Just be notified
in less than 30, 60 days. I mean, okay, guys. Well, thank you guys for coming. I'll send a recording of this to everybody. But Luis, if you get any response back from Armand about your deck, we'll need to have your deck on a jump drive if you have it. Because
I'll email it to you tomorrow. I'll email you. I'll CC you when I send my deck over.
Okay.
And if they have any changes, I'll email you the updated version.
Right, because we need one.
Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate all that information that you provided. It's a big eye opener, and thank you again. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. All right. So I'll
hey,
see
thank you.
quick
question: when we get that, I'm sorry.
Okay. No,
I just want to ask Luis real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead. Quick
question: if we get that video, do you mind if we kind of edit it down to that presentation you made and share that?
Which one?
What you said at the beginning of this meeting.
Yeah,
Kevin. If I heard Kevin said he was going to send a video of this meeting out
to everybody, so that we have it, because man, that was powerful. So yeah,
I'd like to be able to share that if that's okay with you.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay with me. I mean,
thank you.
Nobody's told me that. Yeah, nobody. All the information we have is for publication. I assume I'm correct, right? I don't think we're talking about anything that's supposed to be kept in house, but. So until further advice, I'm going to socialize this with everybody on this call and everybody else that wants to be part of it. Okay, guys. All right. Well, 1 o'clock. Thank you for joining, and we'll look forward for a good show tomorrow and Wednesday.
Luis, I'll call you later on, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye now.